Today I want to talk about should children go to jail. Now, there's been a really disturbing story where I called it where this 6-year-old boy was alleged to be raped by an 11-year-old boy. And it was stated that the mom had found out that her son was being sexually assaulted by an 11-year-old boy, another student on the school bus. And I guess she found out about it because her son's backpack had gone missing. And she didn't know, apparently this abuse had been going on for months. And so she had contacted the school and they got footage and they saw this assault happening from the security footage from the school bus. And so it's been really devastating to look at the story. I mean, I always hate to hear things like this when children are involved, and it's been really, like I said, it kind of rattled me. But I found out as I'm following the story that the 11-year-old boy, they're now charging him with 3 felony charges. And my heart goes out to the 6-year-old boy, the victim. And I've been praying, about the situation. But the thing is, what I want to know is, how was this allowed to even go on? First of all, how was it that there were no adults on the bus that could see this? Or how is it that this boy was allowed to be assaulted on the bus and no one knows anything? This goes on for months. There are no other children on the bus that saw this, or there is no aid. I mean, I don't know if this is a disabled boy or not, but usually when my kids used to go to school, they would have a bus, especially if they're disabled children. They would always have a bus driver, and they would have another aide on the bus with the kids to watch the children. There would always be another adult, supervising, overlooking the bus. And if they have security footage, how is that no one ever looked at this or went over the footage? And it just, this is able to just keep going on. And my thing is, as far as the 11-year-old, I really don't know. I mean, it just seems odd, this type of behavior. Yes, children sometimes can be influenced, but a lot of times children, they have learned behavior. And many times when things are happening to children act out based off of things that they're taught. When they're that young, especially 11 years old, it's like a lot of times children are exposed to things themselves, or things are done to them, or they're not, supervised, and they're just introduced to certain things, and then they go ahead and act this out. And so it's my question is, I'm thinking immediately, where did this 11-year-old boy learn this behavior? How is it that an 11-year-old boy, because it's not typical that an 11-year-old child will go and rape another child. I mean, that's just not typical behavior. And so my first thought is that, this child himself has obviously been a victim, or he's been exposed to something that he should not have seen. And it's like, who's watching out for this child? Who's looking after these children? How is this able to happen? And it's like, when I hear that he has 3 felony charges, yes, children should be held accountable for their actions, for things they do. There should be consequences. But a lot of times I feel like when it comes to children going to jail, I mean, again, these are children. I feel like it's a bit extreme, especially when children get these long life sentences. A lot of them, when they commit crimes and they're under 18, they're under adult age, they're minors, and you're sending them to jail, you're sending them to prison, and you're keeping them in captivity for years. They're losing decades of their lives based off actions that they've engaged in when they were children. And as you know, children are not on the same thinking level as adults. And in the Bible, it says, when I was a child, I acted as a child. When I became an adult, I put away childish things. So children are not expected to think as an adult thinks. They don't have the same judgment. They don't have the same rationality when it comes to these kind of things. A lot of them act out on impulse. And this can be even worse when it comes to a child if they're subjected to abuse, if they're subjected to an environment where a lot of this stuff is going on. If they're not taught, they don't have positive influences around them. They have a bunch of negative influences. Also, it can play a part when if the children are disabled. And I look at the laws. We have laws where it states that children cannot vote until they're 18 years old. Children cannot, drink or smoke until, they can't smoke until they're 18. They can't drink alcohol until they're 21. So if we have these laws, even laws for driving a vehicle, you have to be a certain age to obtain a driver's license, which means that children are not able to make sound, wise decisions. They don't have the same judgment as an adult. And they're still thinking, their brains are still developing. They're still learning how to respond, and their emotions, sometimes they can act out in a way where they're not able to handle certain situations like an adult. So why is it that we're able to lock these children up and give them jail sentences or even long, lengthy sentences in prison and charge them with felonies when they're, under a certain age? That is one thing that I don't really agree with, and I think it's something that should be, looked at. We should start, I urge the church to start praying about this, because our children are being locked up, their lives are being taken from them, and they're young, and it's like if they don't have the proper, role models around them, and they're being exposed to this themselves, how can we now charge the child? Yes, I believe there should be some type of ramifications, or there should be some type of reform, but in a positive, healthy way where this child can learn, not in a way where you're taking their entire life. And now they're being exposed to more stuff, and this just turns them into more hardened criminals, and it just keeps perpetuating the cycle. And so this is happening in the county of Harris County in Texas. And I've heard about Harris County, how the jails, how they treat the men and women in the prisons, and they don't care. And a lot of them, they're abusing them in the prisons. They're subjected to harsh environments and treatment. And so this is something that really needs to be looked into. And so, I mean, when I saw this story, it really touched me, It hurt me with the 6-year-old boy. Again, I'm praying for his healing. It hurt me with the whole thing. I was in tears just by reading the story. So I just urge the rest of the church, I'm asking y'all to start praying. I really don't believe, even though this 11-year-old boy did this, I really believe this child himself needs his help, and maybe he was subjected to something, but he should not honestly be charged with 3 felony charges. There should be some other form of recourse for him. And I just ask the rest of the church to start praying and seek the Holy Spirit and guidance. Thank you.